Hi everyone, welcome back mathematicians. Today we are going to be learning how to solve problems with missing addends. So I want to show you our learning target for today. I can solve for unknowns in a story problem using models and an equation. Every time that we solve a story problem, we always show a model that will share our thinking. We've learned lots of models this year in first grade, and I'm hoping that you can use those to help you solve these. Whenever we have an unknown, we always want to put a box around it because that lets us know that is the number we're looking for. Let's get started. Our first problem is there were 8 marbles in a bag. 3 were blue and the rest were red. How many were red? To solve these problems, you are going to need your manipulatives, so you might use cubes or your counters. I would advise you to also use your part whole mat or your number bond mat. Pause the video and go get your materials ready. When you have them, you can hit play. Now that we have our materials ready, let's go ahead and try to set up our equation to solve this problem. Setting up our equation helps us to understand what is happening in the problem. Let's make sense of what's happening. There were 8 marbles in a bag. So how many marbles were in the bag? That's right, there were 8 marbles. 3 of them were blue and the rest were red. So I know that there were 8 marbles. Am I adding more marbles or do I just have 8 in the bag? You're right, I only have 8. So I know that that 8 is my whole number. I know that I will not have more than 8. I also know that 3 were blue. So I know 3 were blue, but the rest were red. Well, I know 3 is one of my parts. Now it says the rest were red. Does that give me an amount? Does that tell me how many were red? No, it doesn't. So that means that this is my unknown in the problem. I don't know how many were red. And remember, when we're finding a missing addend, we always know that we box what we're looking for. We box the unknown. So I'm going to think about this problem. I see a part, and a whole. So I'm going to use a part whole mat to help me solve this problem. But first, I need to think about my equations. So I know that there were 8 marbles, 3 were blue, the rest were red. So if I have the part whole mat, I know my whole is 8. The part that I know is 3. And we have learned along the way that we can use a part whole mat to help us count on to add. So I think that if I had 3, I would count on a certain amount to end up with 8. Because I know a part and a part go together to make my whole. So this part and this part go together to make my whole. So I could say 3 plus something equals 8. But I also learned that I can use subtraction to help me as well. So we know in a subtraction problem that our whole goes first. So 8 minus. Well, the part that I know is 3. So 8 minus 3 equals my missing part. So addition and subtraction can both be used to help you solve this problem. So let's see. If I had 3 and I needed to fit to 8, how many would I count on? Using your tiles or counters on your part whole mat or your number bond, show me how you would find our missing part. Pause the video, and when you have it, press play. Wow, I heard some great thinking along the way. I heard people using their part whole or number bond. I also heard some other models that could be used, and we'll share those as well. But first, let's think about our part whole model. For those of you at home, I'm going to show you my part whole mat. So I knew that my whole was 8, and the part that I knew was 3. So I'm going to use my counting on strategy until I get to 8. So I'm going to solve 3 plus something equals 8. Let's do that together. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What was my missing part? 3 plus something equals 8. How many did we have to count on to get to 8? That's right. We counted on 5 more. So I would show that if I draw it with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I can see that 3 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equals 8. So that's going to help me solve my part whole model. 3 plus 5 equals 8. I can still use my subtraction fact as well. If I have 8 and I take 3 away, what will I end up with? Let's look again at our part whole maps. I had 8 and I take 3 away. What am I left with? That's right. I have 5 left because I can take my whole minus a part to get the other part. Or I can add my part to the other part to get my whole. I love how addition and subtraction both work together to solve my problem. Now, I did see some other models being used, and that is wonderful. So I saw someone choose to use a number line. So I have my number line drawn. I also have a virtual number line, and I'm going to show you both. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see my number line. I have a number line right here. On my number line, I can easily show my thinking as well. So if I wanted to solve 3 plus something equals 8, then I would start at my 3 and I would hop until I get to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can circle my 8 to let me know that's where I need to stop. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I can think, how many hops did I take? I took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3 plus 5 equals 8. I can also show that with my number line on my screen. If I had 8 and I minus the part that I know, which was 3, 1, 2, 3. 8 minus 3 equals 5. So now I know that addition and subtraction can both work together to help me find our missing add in our problem. We found our missing add-in by showing our part whole, our number line, and we filled in what was missing. I can also use counters to help me with this. I've seen 8 counters was my whole, and I knew that 3 of them were blue. So I can block off 3, because those were my 3 that were blue. So how many are left to be red? You're right, that left me with 5. And I know that 3 plus 5 equals my 8. I can also think of my subtraction facts. If I have 8 and I minus the part that I know, which is 3, I see that I have 5 left to be red. Great thinking, guys. You're doing awesome today. I have one more model that I want to point out to you that you could use to help you solve your problem. My last model that I'm going to show is a 10 frame. Now remember, when you're making your 10 frame, you draw your rectangle, you slice it in half, and there's 4 lines down. 1, 2, 3, 4. That will give you your 5 boxes on top and your 5 boxes on bottom. Now I know that there were 8 marbles. I know 3 of them were blue, so I'm going to color in 3. Then how many are left to be red? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because 3 plus 5 equals 8, or 8 minus these 3 equals 5. Let's try another problem together. Make sure you have everything ready so you can solve. This time, I have a different problem, and it's one of my favorite topics, cookies. Raise your hand if you like cookies. Great, so this will be a great problem to help us use our part whole, number bond, or any other strategy that we can use to find our missing part. So let's look. There were 10 cookies in the jar. 2 were chocolate chip. The rest were sugar. How many were sugar? On your part whole, or on your other map, see if you can tell me what would be our whole. Listen again to the problem. There were 10 cookies in the jar. 2 were chocolate chip. The rest were sugar. How many were sugar? I have to think, how many cookies did I have? You're right, I had 10 cookies. So 10 is my whole. Well, if 10 is my whole, let's think about the rest of the problem. 2 were chocolate chip. The rest were sugar. Do you see a part? Great. Our part that we know is 2 because 2 of those were chocolate chip. Then it says the rest were sugar. The rest are sugar. Do I know how many are sugar? No, that is what I'm trying to solve. So I know that this is going to be my unknown problem. If there's 10 cookies in the jar, 2 were chocolate chip, the rest were sugar. Let's see how we would solve that. This time, I'm going to model with a number box. Now let's think about our number bond. What is our whole? You're right, it's 10. So would I put my 10 here, here, or here? That's right, we would put it here. So 10 is my whole. My 2 parts go together to make my whole. So it's kind of like a puzzle. Your part and your other part go together to build your whole. What is the part that I know? 2. 2 is the part that I know. Great job. Now I'm looking at my number bond and I'm thinking about how these numbers work together. I know that a part and another part go together to make my whole. So there's my part, and my whole. I also know that my whole can take away a part to get my other part. So my whole minus the part that I know equals my other part. So I can use counting on or counting back to help me solve for my missing addend. So on your mats, on your journal or piece of paper, I want you to see if you can figure out what my missing part is. You are welcome to use your manipulatives to help you with sorting and figuring that out. When you're ready and you have an answer, press play. I heard some great thinking today. Let's see how we did. If I had 2, but I know that there are 10 total, so 10 total, 2 of them are chocolate chip. The rest are sugar. So I can use my counting on strategy to help me. Here's 2. Let's count on until we get to 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if these are chocolate chip and these are my sugar, how many sugar cookies were there? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I know that 2 plus 8 equals 10. My two parts go together to make my whole. But I can also think about my subtraction. I'm going to show that on a number line. So I have my number line. If I had 10 and I counted back 2, how many would be sugar cookies? Well, I'm going to start at my 10 because that is my whole. And I'm going to count back 2. 1, 2. So it's minus 2. Where did I land? I landed on 8. So 10 minus 2 equals 8. 10 minus 2 equals 8. Let's see if you can use another model to show your thinking. Pause the video and hit play when you're ready. I saw some other models being used. One of the models I saw was a 10 frame. If I'm using a 10 frame, I can think about my whole and my part. So I know that there were 10 cookies. I also know that 2 of them were chocolate chip. So how many were sugar cookies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I saw someone use their counters. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are my cookies. I know that 2 are chocolate chip. So how many are sugar cookies? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 were chocolate chip and 8 were sugar cookies. Those are all great ways to show your thinking. Remember, when you're solving for a missing number, you always want to put your box around the number that you're trying to figure out. Sometimes you'll have your whole and your part, and you'll have to find your missing part. I hope you had fun today. I will see you next time when we learn about how to solve unknowns in a story problem using models and an equation. Good luck, guys.